Hi y'all, welcome to CISO Art. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a softly blended sky and paint a rocky cliff. Now this is a lesson that we did here in the gallery for some students, and I thought it would be a good video to do for you all. So it's very simple palette and a small canvas, 11 by 14, and just these few brushes. This is a large 1.5 inch, 1.75 inch, kind of firm. And this is going to be for applying our gesso to the background. And a blender brush, or in this case a makeup brush. I love these because I buy a bunch of them, because once they're wet they don't blend very well anymore, so it's good to have several on hand. They're very inexpensive, drugstore, big box store, you can find them, and they don't shed hairs like some of the higher priced artistic blender brushes. I have a couple of flats in two different sizes. This one's maybe 3/4 inch, this one's about 1/2 inch, and a liner brush or a very small round brush that comes to a nice fine point. Now the picture is just something from my mind. This was just for demonstration purposes, for learning these techniques. So it's not based on anything in particular, it's just out of my mind. Now what I'm going to do is coat the canvas and use the gesso as the base for making my soft blended sky. If you don't have gesso handy like this, you can use white paint as well. And I have my water jar, and again, very limited palette. I have black and white, red, blue, and yellow. I'm just going to dip my hand in this clean water and dampen the canvas. This will just help our paint to stay wet just a little bit longer. One of the things that I told my students in this class is, as an acrylic artist, it seems like you're always having to be concerned with the state of your paint. And by that I mean how much moisture is in it. So I'm just going to apply a liberal amount of this white gesso. Now I'm going to do a lighthouse and some little rocky cliffs and just one small wave crashing up on the rocks. So I'm going to leave this part where I think the rocks will be uncoated, so I'm not having to wait for this paint to dry. So you just apply it, finish coat over the area that you're going to want to blend out for sky. And your brush stroke direction on this doesn't matter. Probably put out just a little too much, so I'm going to try to save it and put it back in this jar. You could also spread this on with a palette knife. I'm just smoothing it out a tiny bit. I saved about 1/2 teaspoon of gesso. Hey, you never know when you'll need that. Okay, now I'm just going to dip one corner of my big old brush in this blue and start at the top. And work my way down. I think I want it a little darker. better to start with too little and add than to have too much. You have to take it off and start over again. I'll just work my way down. I'm just basically, excuse me, just depositing this pigment on the canvas. And I feel like I have a little too much paint on my brush, so I'm just going to wipe some of the excess off. Just spread it around a little bit more. This is a small canvas, so it does not take a whole lot of paint to cover, which is nice. Okay, throw that big old brush in my water bucket, jar, whatever. It's called a jucket now. And now we get the magic of our blender brush. I'm going to start in the lightest area first. So in this case, it'll be at the bottom. And I just want to even up this color and get my brush strokes out. Now I'm applying just a very, very light pressure. If you look close, you'll see I'm not even bending the bristles. I'm just skimming across the top. And sometimes these diagonal strokes are good to even out the color. Now you can do the same thing with this brush if you feel like it's getting a little too full of paint. Just wipe it on your paper towel. Don't put it in the water because then the bristles will splay out. They won't be soft and they won't blend for you. This doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be putting some clouds on here. Okay, I'm applying a little more pressure right now because I want to drag some of this down. So it's a little more gradated. Okay, now a very light pressure again. When you're doing a sky, you have to remember that because of the haze in the air, when we're looking way off in the distance, things will be lighter and grayer and softer. And when we're looking more directly above us, because we're looking through less volume of air as we are off in the distance, when we're looking straight above us, we're going to see a much deeper blue if it's a nice blue sky. So anyway, there's the sky. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my blender brush in this water. And I want to block in some rocks. So I'm going to use this larger of my flat brush, and I want to mix up a medium brownish grayish color. And again, this is such a limited palette. I'm going to use red and black and yellow to make brown. And I just brush mix this. If I wanted, you know, a very carefully mixed up color, I would use a palette knife. When I want a little variation, just because your brush, you know, has the gaps in the hairs and all that, it will not make a real homogeneous pile. And when you want variety and foliage and rocks and things like that, it's good to brush mix. Okay, that's a pretty nice brown, almost like a raw umber. I'm going to add some white to lighten it. a little greenish because of the yellow, I think, so I'm going to add a touch of red to warm that up. This will probably dry a little darker than what I think, you know, this color looks like, so I'll go ahead and start with that. And that's just a good medium color. This will be like our base coat. And my canvas is dry and has no paint on it down here. Well, I need to make some more. More black and red and yellow and white. So I'm just kind of making a stair step down. And we need to have a ledge for our lighthouse to be on. Kind of a good natural start. I just added a touch of white to lighten this up a little. Now again, I'm not copying a certain image or anything, so just letting my imagination and happy accidents build some texture. So you're gonna have some lights and some darks. These are just kind of random. I'm going to set this up so my light source is coming from this upper right section. And I think I want to highlight where the edge of my ledge will be, because again the light, it will be shining down on it. So just lighten that up a tiny bit. This is a completed painting, and you can see for yourself how the sky looks using the technique that was demonstrated in this video. This is something you can easily do on a larger canvas. Just use larger brushes, and the reason you do that is so that you can work as quickly as possible and get all that blending done before the paint dries. I will be putting out more videos where I show how I do the rest of this painting, and they are in real time, so if you are so inclined, make sure you have your paints and your paint brushes and you can paint along with me. If you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, you'll be notified when the next one comes out. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep painting, and I'll see you next time.